Hey guys, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Welcome back to another discussion video on a recent community poll. I need to come up with a name for this series of videos because I really enjoy what we're about to do here. Basically, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, I like to take certain topics of interest or debate in the knife world and make polls about them. We've done it twice at this point. See what you guys think, and then I make a video talking about what I think. So, today's topic has to do with pronunciation of this blade shape here. So, you all know what this is. Pretty common blade shape. This is a Tanto. That's how I say it. And we're going to be starting the discussion off right away. So, the main debate has kind of been, is it Tanto or Tanto, right? And there's variations of pronunciation beyond those two things. For example, the former I've heard compared to pronouncing it like Tanto, as in the Lone Ranger's Native American companion. So I put out a poll seeing what you guys thought. Now we're going to take a look at the results of that poll right here. So we had, let's see, how many people took the poll? We had 75 people take the poll. Of those, 63% say they pronounce it Tanto, and actually here, let me write out right here how I try to phonetically represent the pronunciations. So the first one, Tanto, like that. The second one, I put this one just for fun, but we had 5% of people vote for this. And that's Tanto. And then the last, and then we had Tanto. This is how I tried to write that out. Tanto, that's the way I generally pronounce it. And then I had, of course, a category for never used this word. So, again, we had 63% say Tanto, 5% say Tanto, and 29% said Tanto. And then 3% said they've never used this word. So, let's go ahead and see if we can come up with a definitive answer. What is the correct pronunciation? Now, before we get into that, obviously, does this really matter? No. Right? It's a word. The way you pronounce it is not going to affect the way you use the actual blade. It's not going to affect your day-to-day usage, right? However, words exist for a reason. Words have meaning, and everything comes from somewhere. So let's go ahead, let's dive in and see if we can uncover some history. Now, I think before we start doing the real deep dive into doing some searches and discovering things for ourselves, let's go ahead and look at what you guys said your reasonings were behind your pronunciations. So let's go ahead and pull up these comments here. Awesome, and I'm going to grab the computer and put it on my lap so I'm not turning my head throughout the whole video. So, first comment is from Jimbus Maximus. Hey, buddy. I say Tanto, and he wrote out T-H-A-N, so kind of the same thing I was going to throw. Tanto. I think it's how most people say it, but if you want to make it weird and call it Tanta or something, I'm here for it. Always down for a little weirdness. So actually, as we saw from the results of my poll, again, 75 people, it's not a huge sample size, but that's what we got. Most people say it Tanto. So, interesting. And I will say something too. Throughout the history of this channel, you can go back and look at videos. I have said it Tanto, Tanto. I've said it both times at different occasions because I was unsure about the pronunciation too. So even though recently my knee jerk has been Tanto, just because I have said Tanto in the past, I've said it both ways. So there's really, yeah, it's both pronunciations are prevalent. All right, James Reese commented and said Tanto, just like the Lone Ranger's Native American sidekick Tanto from the old 1950s TV show. So yeah, again, like I was saying. Next up, Old Tanto guy. So here's one that has Tanto in their name, and I know this guy loves his Tanto knives. So let's see what he says. He might be a little bit of an authority on this. Oh, he commented on something else, but we're going to read his original comment. He said, I stand by what I said the last several times it's come up. I stopped pronouncing it Tanto, the Lone Ranger's native sidekick, when I heard Lynn Thompson say it as Tanto. If Tanto is good enough for the original designer of the American Tanto, it's good enough for me. And you know what? That is a good point. And then he says, but I also don't really care. It's not like a stupid blade shape is important to me or anything. Important enough for him to put it in his name. Next up, Harry 4x4 Tanto. Okay. And next, G-Ball Vision said, Taint 2, please. Now, I think G-Ball is a little bit confused here with his comment. He's actually getting the Tanto or Tanto mixed up with a completely different blade shape. This here is a Taint 2, and very unique blade shape. Not a whole lot of people are aware of this one. I'm not even sure I can show it on YouTube, but that's the Taint 2. So very specific uses in native Alaskan fertility rituals. We'll have to do a video on that another time. Alrighty, Tim Schoolfish, he commented and said, same as you, like the Lone Ranger sidekick. Alrighty. And he said more here. Some clown made a wisecrack at me in a comment once. Never seen him again. But I seem like a goofball in my videos. I was a high school teacher and coach for 20 years. Don't suffer fools. Yeah, don't mess with Professor Tim, guys. Don't mess with Professor Tim. And someone else commented and said, Tanto. And yeah. So, from the comments, most people were saying it the way I say it, Tanto. But the votes showed that Tanto was far more common. So, let's get to the bottom of this. Before we start talking about a whole lot of that, let's talk about the origin of the word. So, Tanto originated, it's a Japanese word. The knife originated in Japan, and in fact, it means short sword. So, this blade shape here, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, is not a classical Tanto. This is what we call an Americanized or a Western Tanto, where we have a very pronounced tip here and a very, very pronounced secondary edge right there. The more traditional blade shape on the original Japanese Tantos, and I don't have a great example here, but this is one that I have that's pretty close. It was more similar to this. It was actually my brother's EDC knife, where it's a little more gradual. This one does have a compound grind out here, but straight back and then kind of a sloping belly right here. And in fact, the original Japanese Tanto just means short sword, and it is spelled like this, with a little accent over the O. So that kind of makes me think there might be some kind of special pronunciation with the O. A quick rundown of the Wikipedia page for Tanto reveals some pretty cool facts. They date back to what's called the Heian, the Heian period, which lasted from 1794 to 1185, so very ancient design. And as I was going through here, just kind of reading a little bit, I found that there are actually multiple different blade shapes for these knives to take. You know, here's our American, and then there's a couple of other different ones that I drew down there. So we're not going to go into all of that. This is not going to be a deep dive into history. I might do that in another video, though. That could be kind of fun. Let's just talk about the pronunciation. So the easiest thing to go to right away is just Google up how to just Google how to pronounce Tanto, whatever it is. So I Googled it. There it is right there. Let's go ahead and listen to what this computer has to say.
Tanto.
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 So that is the Tanto. That's Tanto. So you can see here I had this set to the American pronunciation. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, they have American and British. Okay, I'm sorry. I kind of lost it there. So, the American pronunciation here is showing kind of like the Lone Ranger's companion, Tanto. The British one, Tanto. Gosh, I can't. All right, but still, that was an Americanized pronunciation, and sometimes the American way of pronouncing things is not right. For example, my last name is spelled really, really goofy, and it's Dutch. Some of my family came from the Netherlands to the U.S. a long, long time ago, and certain parts of my extended family pronounce the name in a very Americanized way, and other parts of my family, myself included, try and pronounce it more similar to the Dutch way, which is not really how it looks like it should be pronounced. It's spelled not the way it looks like it should be pronounced. Are either of us correct? Is one of us wrong? I mean, it depends who you ask, but sometimes the Americanized version of words is a perfectly acceptable pronunciation. Language is dynamic. It changes as cultures mix, as people go to new places, as dialects become different. And so there's probably not a right or wrong. It should probably be thought of more as traditional versus new or something like that. So let's go ahead and let's take this word straight to the Japanese. And I'm just going to be using the, no, I don't want to translate from that. We're going to be using Google Translate, and we're going to see if we can come up with something. All right, so here I went and I copied the Japanese spelling of Tanto. I copied it from Wikipedia, put it here in Google Translate. It's translating it to dagger in English, which makes sense, short sword. Let's see what this thing has to say.
Tanto.
Tanto. So honestly, in the Japanese, it does sound a lot more like Tanto. Listen to that again.
Tanto.
It sounds like Tanto. So, here, what's this say? I just found another spelling. Oh yeah, okay. So here's a slightly different spelling for it. It looks like it's written the exact same way or transliterated the exact same way, but this time it translates to short sword rather than dagger. So let's see if there's a pronunciation difference.
Tanto.
No, not really. No pronunciation difference. So there we go. There's something right there. So it seems like Tanto might be closer to the Japanese. Of course, this is Google Translate. This is an AI voice coming out of a computer. It might not be 100% correct. If any of you are native Japanese speakers or just a Japanese speaker, I don't guess you have to be a native speaker, just fluent, let me know what you think about that pronunciation. See if that's correct in your mind. However, I don't think I know anyone who speaks Japanese that well. I asked around, couldn't come up with anybody. But here we are, the end of the debate. What's the correct way to pronounce it? We ended up with both pronunciations, right? We ended up with both pronunciations from different sources here. So, is one more correct than the other? Well, as we talked about again, one might be more closer to the traditional or the original, and one might be a derivation of that. Regardless, however you say it, keep on saying it the way you say it, right? There's really not, it's not going to affect you. Am I going to start saying Tanto? Maybe. We'll see. Tanto? We'll see. I'll probably keep doing what I normally do and just switch it up the whole time. But, just in this video, I think the Tanto blade shape is a fantastic blade shape for all kinds of things. It's most commonly associated with tactical uses these days, which I can absolutely see why. This is a heck of a thrusting blade. If you're, in those Friday night gas station fights, that might be something that, is a benefit to you. But I find them to be just excellent work knives too. Watch my recent 80-10 light Tanto review, came out back in December. Very, very useful blade shape. Having this tip here allows you to crunch down on things really well. This allows you to get a lot of heavier duty tasks done so you're not damaging your main edge. You know, if you're crunching on zip ties, going through rope, things like that. This is an excellent blade shape, and you can keep this edge that's pretty nice and straight, you know, pristine for your push cuts, pull cuts, long slices, things like that. I also think it's a great blade shape for EDC if you have a smaller Tanto blade, because this tip here allows you to stab into packages and things and open it up without, you know, getting the whole knife stuck in there and perhaps damaging whatever is in your package. Just a really useful blade shape. I like it a whole lot. This one here, this is my Cold Steel SR1 Light. Love this knife. You can find these on Amazon right now for like 35 bucks. You should pick one up. I have abused the snot out of this thing. I've opened cans with it. I've taken this on camping trips and done just horrendous, awful, mean things to it. Really nice knife and pretty much indestructible. But yeah, if you're into the looks of a Tanto and you want to carry one and see if it works for your EDC, give it a shot, because 9 times out of 10, I think it'll probably work out for you. Great blade shape. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want me to do a deep dive into the history of the Tanto knife, let me know, and I'll work on that. I might just do it anyways. But yeah, anyways, until next time, I've been Gideon. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.